Maybe just put a start, so let's just that's up generally then
That's why my favorite when you work.
oh yeah. Sometimes Rich is so but that so what did you see with this?
I'm not hearing what Georgia
We never.
Oh yeah.
Sound. Yeah, but it's still the same.
Yep. Sorry, Al. With the door? It started June 22nd. That's the event usually put out. A couple of years ago,
We need some new photos to get everybody here.
it was phenomenal. Really, the dose of medicine churches and then oh yeah, my class. Oh, the dose.
Oh, look, Dad, they're from Lisa.
Told us all about it. She was old school. It was really
Just one.
Sunday afternoon jazz and some other music.
No, that's okay. Yeah, you know what? Oh, Seitzes? Yeah. Seitzes and Norman. Jury rigging.
Oh my God.
It's not like a trombone. They're all the same size. Well, why wouldn't they? All the same size. No, no. I saw that too. That's what I meant. I saw that on the program.
Okay, remember that.
plays in my song. Yeah, it's hard. That's why they listen,
So this is the other life. There were two people when you would no one, I wouldn't dare tell the tech because it would be the end of life. So hi, I'm Aaron. This is my mom. How are you doing? Music, and you know what? My first three undergrad Dominic Argento, Felder, I had great I know you made. I actually did a few things in my career.
It's very high.
Yeah, well, you're going to hear some different kinds of jazz. This is a little in between everything you teach you in theory. That's what we do. It does not fit into any of the theory books that oh, yeah. Great. I think
now in my way.
I've learned some things from different consciousness of music. They have to really like adjust our thinking of what they know their stuff, they don't know what we know. So it's like cool because we're playing Good. Yeah, you're right. I'm glad you said that because I've been doing this for a long time. Right. Are they gonna? All right. So it's gonna be a 90-minute. Yeah. In the back. How's staying out of trouble? All right. Did you ask him what you Yeah. A few weeks though. I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks. Going to visit mom.
Thank you so much for coming. Before I turn the program over to Aaron Kula, who brings us this amazing music that you're going to hear today from Florida, I do need to say that the concert really is made possible by the Jewish Federation in combination with the JCC and all these wonderful musicians from the Flying Klezmerians, the Klezmer Company Jazz Orchestra, the Dayton Salsa Project, and a couple of other friends have all joined forces for this very, very one-of-a-kind thing that you're going to hear today. And so, I don't know if we're going to play first or talk first, but I'm going to give it to the man in charge over there, Aaron Kula. That way it's not my fault.
Well, actually, I thought I was only a guest today, and I was visiting. So I'm not really in charge. I'm just pretending to be in charge. Anyway, thank you, Rich. It's it's amazing to be in Dayton. It turns out that I have former students here, former colleagues. I mean, it's kind of blowing my mind that I came here and all of a sudden there are people that I know in Dayton. So it's great. It's great to see Denise. It's great to see Sam. A friend of mine, Aurelian Oprea, is a concertmaster of Dayton. He was a student of mine when he was 16 years old, and now he has a 20-year-old daughter. So it's interesting how life in our field is very cycle. We come back after not seeing each other, and then it's as if we saw each other yesterday. So that's a little background of why I'm here. Rich and I were doing the conservatory at the same time. I'm a little older than him, but not by much. What we're going to do today is put you on a kind of a roller coaster ride of different genres. It's something that my colleague Chaim Rubinoff, who is my co-conspirator, arranger, we've known each other for 20 years, and in South Florida, out of Miami and Coral Springs and Boca, created this kind of Latin, Klezmer, European, Havana combination of music that's hard to explain, so we're just going to play it. And as we go through these pieces, I'll sort of guide you through what you're about to hear so that you're prepared and you don't fall off your chair. We're going to start with a piece that I arranged. It's a Bulgar. Bulgar is, the best way to describe it, it's a Slavic kind of joyous dance that may have originated in various Slavic countries, whether it's Czechoslovakia or Romania or Hungary or any of the Slavic countries. We don't really know where, because the folk music can't always be identified exactly where it comes from, because folk music by nature is itinerant music. It's music of the immigrant, wherever that person goes. And what they do is they go to a new country, and they want to relate to that country, and so all of this music relates to multiple countries, multiple ethnicities, multiple cultures. And that sort of gives you the background of why you're going to hear this music that doesn't belong to one ethnic group, one cultural group, one religious group, one racial group, one country. It belongs to a lot of different places. And if you want to learn more about that, we have some phenomenal musicologists in our audience that are hiding, but they can really teach you a lot more than what I can do in the next few minutes. But our goal is not to teach you, but to perform and let you feel the joy of music that has no borders. And so we're going to start with the Bulgar, that is part Eastern European Jewish folk music called Klezmer, a folk song that has no specific origins. We don't know exactly where it came from. We don't know. All we know is that it was played by Jewish itinerant musicians. So we're going to call it a Klezmer melody, but we're going to combine it with something Latin. I'm not going to say, to make sure I don't say anything wrong or offend my Latin colleagues, I'm going to make sure to say it's not exactly a Latin rhythm, it's not exactly a non-Latin rhythm, but I call it Bongo Bulgarita. So that's a good start, right? Yeah. Good. I always like to remind people this is a live concert, so we want you to react as much as possible. And if you feel like you need to get up and move a little bit, that's actually okay, because that's what this music is meant to do. It's actually really not meant for you to sit tightly in your chairs. So if you need to spread out and kind of move around, please do that, all right? That'll be a very natural experience to the music. The next piece is called Rebbe's Kumbia. And we call it Rebbe's Kumbia because I believe it was a melody that came from where? One of, I think it came from a Klezmer book. It came from an Israeli clarinetist, Giora Feidman, who for years was the principal clarinetist of the Israel Philharmonic. Then he retired and he decided to go back to his roots of his childhood, playing klezmer music, and this was a melody that he brought back to his performances and published it, and we borrowed it, because we don't steal music, we borrow music. And we borrowed the melody because it's a folk melody, and we gave it a little new title, put a kumbia beat to it, and all of a sudden, Rebbe's Kumbia just came about. So this is a little bit of a mixed culture, again, of a little klezmer folk song that nobody knows where it came from, and a kumbia beat. All right, so ready? Go ahead. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. very often we don't put dates on this music except for our arrangements, which Chaim and I started combining these genres in 2005. A while back, because you really need to take this and cultivate your own musical language. The dates, even when we put printed programs, we don't put dates on the folk music because the dates are unknown. We don't know the age of the folk songs or the folk melodies. This next one, though, was written in the 50s, early 1950s. It's a song called Beit Hamikdash, which just means the Great Temple of Jerusalem. And it was written as kind of a cantorial piece that, it's not a prayer, but it was written as a secular song that references the ancient times when there was a great temple in the center of Jerusalem. So that's the story of the piece. Now we're going to go to the melody. The melody is just a beautiful melody that was written by, I think, Abe Elstein, and we took that and turned this quasi-cantorial piece into a salsa. Different take on what a cantorial piece might sound like. So you probably wouldn't hear this in the synagogue, but you might hear it in a South Beach, Miami jazz club. Okay. No, I don't. Do the next one.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Aren't these guys great? We've only been together for like 48 hours. Okay, so sort of like the dating game. You're not sure what, you're really happy when you first meet, but you're not sure what's going to happen by the end of the date. This is a great group. We hope the date never ends. Okay, so again, we continue to merge these two genres, and we continue to look for new rhythms, new beats, new connections, and I think we all have to accept that Jewish music, in its truest sense, is music of the diaspora, meaning it has no specific home. It evolved throughout the world over the past couple thousand years. Anybody that old? Only a couple people raised their hands, that's good. And what ends up happening is that there are musical connections with other cultures, and what we've tried to do is continue to find the bridges of connection, not the separation. And that's a really interesting journey to go down. So this next piece is a folk tune that has various names. So one of them is Happy Nigun. Very often these folk melodies will show up in different books, different publications from the early 1920s when publishers started publishing music in America. And every publisher or composer of that era or band leader would put their own name on it. Kind of interesting. They all took credit for finding a folk song because it really didn't belong to anybody, and so they all shared in the ownership. Not necessarily the money, but the ownership. So this next tune is a folk melody. So it's just a klezmer, joyous dance melody, and Chaim wanted to merge it with the merengue. So how do you merge these two genres? You create a new genre called Klezmerengue.
1, 2, 1, 2.
some of you who are more purist-oriented might say, well, that really wasn't a merengue totally, right? How many people knew that? Well, you're right. We cheated. We actually put something else in there, but I didn't want to tell you about it. It's called an Afro-Cuban beat. So if you heard that, bravo, you get an A+ on your final exam before you leave. So we're going to change the tempo because not all the music has the same beats, the same feels, the energy. We're going to play a piece that has a feel of a bolero. And a bolero can be found in different cultures, Spanish cultures, French cultures, Latin American cultures. So it kind of felt right to put a bolero into this. And a bolero is a little more of a luxurious beat. And this piece was written by Mordechai Gabertig and Alexander Olshanetsky. It's two different songs that we put together as one. One is called Esbrent, and which means on fire, and one is called Belts, which comes from a song called My Shtetl Belts, which is my little town of Belts. And without getting too deep into what they are, they're songs that reference both the turn of the century, the pogroms of the turn of the century, and segments of the Holocaust. So Esbrent is on fire, my town is on fire. And Belts is my little town Belts, who I love so much, right? How many people would really be heartbroken if they were forced to leave Dayton? I want to just make sure it's clear that it was my understanding that you love to be in Dayton, right? So this is a little bit, has a sad overtone to it, but there's a lot of love in this song too, because when you think of your town that maybe you grew up in and that you had to leave because you went off to college, you went off to career, you got married, you had children, you know, and then one day, you know, you look back and you look at your town and your village and it's still there, but only in your imagination. And so that's kind of the story of these two pieces. So Chaim arranged this, and just a little brief, this is a song that does have some sad overtones, especially if your parents are survivors of the Holocaust, which Chaim's parents were. But his parents, his father, he told me, sang this to him, the melody, sang to him when he went to sleep at night as a child. So Chaim has this beautiful memory of his father singing this very pretty melody. So what I want to point out is melodies can reference both joyous and sad emotions. So we'll leave it up to you to figure out which one it feels for you. But it's a beautiful piece, and I think you'll enjoy a different flair for these two Yiddish songs that were written in the 20s and 30s.
1, 2, 3, 4.
1940s, the klezmer musicians of New York City were pretty versatile because they were competing with Duke Ellington, Cap Calloway, all the Harlem Renaissance jazz musicians. They were all competing for audiences. It didn't matter black, white, Jewish, non-Jewish. They were competing for commercial money, and they needed to appeal to a wide demographic. That demographic was called America. Everybody wanted to be American. Everybody wanted to feel like they belonged to America. And the way they did that was through music. And even if they didn't know what they were writing or they didn't relate to it specifically, because what would a kind of a Jewish clarinetist from Brooklyn know about a rodeo and hoedown and the Wild West? But they could hear the square dance and they could copy the music and sort of figure out, oh, I'm sort of a little bit country, a klezmer country boy. Sounds funny, right? But that's how they related to different parts of America without having to travel and figuring out how to ride a horse or milk a cow. So this next piece was written by Dave Tarras, a very famous clarinetist, who by day played in klezmer bands and by night played with the great black jazz artists all over New York City. He was a real great musician, technically amazing clarinetist. And what these leaders did of klezmer music is they had their own bands, and they would lead their own bands and write their own melodies to showcase themselves, to showcase how good they were. Same way Cap Calloway did with his voice, Duke Ellington did with his piano, or any of the great jazz musicians of that era, or Louis Armstrong, which is another story, Louis Armstrong and his relationship with Jewish melody and Yiddish, which everybody knows, right, that Louis Armstrong spoke fluent Yiddish, right? You knew that, right? Okay. So Dave Tarras wrote a piece called Second Avenue Square Dance. Second Avenue has to do with the Lower East Side. Square dance has to do with square dancing. I don't think they did too much square dancing on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. But he wanted to make it sound like he knew what it was to write country fiddling music, except he played clarinet. So there was a lot of transferring he had to do to figure out how to make this work. So he wrote a piece called Second Avenue Square Dance in 1947. We took that piece, which is a lot of fun, and it's very technically difficult, and turned it into a mambo. So now we have a Second Avenue Square Dance mambo. It's sort of like taking a milkshake and putting whatever, kale and malted and vanilla and some meat and putting it all in and mixing it up. I wouldn't want to drink it, but listening to it might be interesting. So we're going to do a piece called, we kind of transformed it, called Second Avenue Mambo by Dave Tarras, rearranged, reimagined by Chaim Rubinoff from 1947, reimagined in 2014. Okay, yeah, I've got this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. How are we doing so far? There is no doubt this is where you want to be if you live in Dayton, right? Yeah. So make sure you take lots of pictures and you share with the entire community of Dayton. How many people in the what? 100,000, 200,000, 50? How many people live in all about a few 100,000? I would like it to share pictures and anything you can so everybody in Dayton says, how did we not know what was going on at the Klein Elementary School, okay? All right, so that was a mambo. And now we're gonna do, I call it a couple more mambos, but they're really freilichs. Freilichs, again, that word is kind of a Yiddish word which just means joyous, but it refers to dance music that's played at celebrations, Jewish celebrations, to get people up and dancing. So again, it's really a contradiction what we're doing. We're playing for you all of this really dance, joyous music, and you're sitting really tightly glued to your seat. But that's okay. Tonight, what's gonna happen is you're gonna be dreaming about everything we're doing, and you're not gonna be able to go to sleep. So the next two pieces are gonna be connected. They're two different freilichs that I found in a 1908 publication of violin, it was called International Jewish Violin Melodies. And I saw them going, that's a funny international, that's all they can be. They have to be international melodies. Where else are they going to be? So this was a book published in 1910 by a violinist that I found in an archives up someplace down in Florida. And I opened it up and there were all these amazing Freilich melodies. And they were just Freilich number 1, Freilich number 2, Freilich number 3, and so on, like 100 of them. And it was in a leather-bound book, a custom book. It was beautiful. And I just started playing through each of them, and these two spoke to me, these two melodies spoke to me. And for years I was playing them as a traditional Klezmer melody, which would be something like this. Very nice, very simple. Everybody can dance to it. If you have 2 feet, all you have to do is move one foot and the other, wouldn't be a problem. But then as we were cultivating our kind of multi-genre concerts, I decided to put these in a quasi-mambo beat. Now, it's not a pure mambo beat because my Latin friends are going to say it's really not a mambo. We don't know what it is. But because we have to use language to describe what we're doing, they're going to fake it and kind of do a quasi-mambo, Freilich, Klezmer, Havana beat of some sort. And so these are 2 Freilichs, and I had to figure out what to call it. So I called it Dos Mambos Freilichs. Now, for those people who speak Spanish, dos means 2. In Yiddish, dos means the Mambo Freilichs. So I thought it was a really kind of funny title to say Dos Mambo Freilichs because it's a play on language, all right? Then I had to figure out what to call it, so I called it Dos Mambo Freilichs number 1, Dos Freilichs Mambo number 2. And so they're connected by a drum transition moving from a kind of mambo beat to a kind of soca beat. So if you're well-versed in, many of our musicologists are, if you're well-versed in Latin rhythms, I think you're going to enjoy how the percussionists navigate through this myriad of rhythmic transitions that are normally not part of Latin rhythmic traditions. But we can do anything we want because it's our music. Okay? So remember, the beat stays the same, the feel changes. Okay, here we go. All right, so you ready? 1, 2, 3. fretlocks, or whatever you want to call them. The only thing that matters is did you enjoy listening to it? Please react to whatever you hear. That's a good thing to let us know that you're breathing and you're back there listening and reacting and alive as well, okay? So we're going to change the beat around a little bit and do a piece called, it's a Bulgar, so it comes from the Slavic. A lot of the Klezmer stuff that we associate with in America is really, a lot of it comes from Eastern European or Central Europe. Some of it is Arabic based, and some of it we get is from the Spanish, Turkish, Ottoman era. So what I want to do is change it up a little bit and pick a different style of Latin rhythm called Afro-Cuban rhythm and combine that with a Bulgar. And Chaim arranged this also. And we like to play on words, and they call Cuban Jews Jubans. And many people know that. That's the term that's used to reference that ethnic group in Cuba. And so the beat is called Afro-Cuban. So we put the Bulgar together, the Afro-Cuban, we call it Afro-Juban Bulgar. You can laugh, that's okay. Afro-Juban Bulgar. The goal is to get you to think about what we are doing with music. So it is an Afro-Cuban Bulgar, but we renamed it Afro-Juban Bulgar. Okay, we're all clear on that? Okay, here we go for a new ride. This features Chaim Rubinoff on lead trumpet. Well, he's the only trumpet there, so but you know, we musicians like to have titles. So he's the lead trumpet. Okay, you ready? You okay? Okay, so here we go. Everybody on the downbeat, and 3. We're going to give this a second try. Okay? We've only played this through twice. So what I'm doing is downbeat. Okay. Ready? Ready one more time? Yep. Have to check with the lead trumpet and make sure you can do it one more time. Ready? Okay, here we go. And So there's a word that I learned called descarga, which basically means, if I'm correct, jam session. This is a piece that has, again, this has an Egyptian origin from, we don't even know how old it really is, because ethnic music, they used to call it ethnomusicology, then they called it world music, and I don't know what they call it. What do they call it now? We call it whatever we want to call it, but it's not classical music, that's for sure. So the name of this song, the title of this melody is called Mizerlu. Mizerlu. Many people know it. It was first published somewhere around the 40s and 50s, and it's been used by many different people, including some famous Hollywood movies, commercials, but it's an ancient Egyptian melody. And Mizerlu is an ancient Egyptian word that means beautiful princess. And the story goes that it was thought for about 100 years, it was thought to have been a Hasidic melody, but somehow it got transferred to a Hasidic rabbi during the Haskalah era, which is the Age of Enlightenment era in the 18th century, because the story goes that this rabbi helped this Egyptian group with water when they ran out of water, and he helped them survive. As a gift, they gave the rabbi the melody. So of course, the Hasidic rabbi took the melody, and all of a sudden it became a holy melody, and it became a Jewish melody. And that's how melodies are adopted by different cultures. But it has been traced back to ancient Egyptian melodies, and Mizerlu, that's why it's very funny to hear, for me to hear it in these American popular commercials, because it is so far away from American pop culture, but yet it would be something good to research if you want to find out how it grew into that era. So Descarga Mizerlu, arranged by Chaim, and I think you recognize it. There's some really interesting featured solos. Jordana will be featured in this, and Jason plays it on what I call the gold clarinet. Okay? Because people think that Klezmer has to have a black clarinet, but there's no absolute rules. And I think you'll enjoy how we move from kind of improvisational cha-cha into maybe Afro-Cuban. So this has a lot of interesting takes on this old ancient melody. The original melody is... interesting set of notes put together, right? It's really not classical, it's not pop, it's its own world of music, all right? And interestingly enough, cantorial modes, prayer modes, use the same scale. Okay, now you're ready for it. Here we go. Go count.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
In the late 1800s, there was the birth of the Yiddish theater in Romania. And the father of Yiddish theater was a man called Avram Goldfaden. And he wrote, I guess it would equal to popular operettas of today, sort of like, he was the Yiddish Gilbert and Sullivan. And so he wrote a very famous operetta called Shulamit. And in that, there became a very famous song called Brozhin Kismet Mandlin, or in English, Raisins and Almonds. And it sort of became kind of a international anthem for the Jews around the world because it spoke about something very important. I mean, it's a biblical story, and I won't get into the biblical story because we're not in a Bible class today. But this particular song talks about making sure something very important never happens, that your child never goes hungry. Nobody wants their child to be hungry. Agreed? Agreed. Okay. I like when everybody agrees with me. And so this song says, no matter what, whatever hardship we have, whatever's going on, wherever you may be, whatever the family situation is, whatever the situation is in life, that I will always be able to feed you raisins and almonds. And that's the sense of the story. So it's a very sweet, loving song between parent and child. So we're going to play this song, Raisins and Almonds. In Spanish, it's called Pasas y Almendras, right? Pasas y Almendras. I'm checking with my Spanish, make sure I said it right. Okay? They're teaching me Spanish, I'm teaching them Yiddish. And Chaim arranged this, and so we're going to do this. What's the rhythmic style of this?
It's Guajira.
Oh, Guajira. All right, so how many people know what Guajira is? Okay. Then don't dance to it. All right, so here we go. Pasas y Almendras, Rosh Kuzmet Mandlin, Raisins and Almonds. You have 3 different titles. Choose the one you want. Here we go.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Thank you.
So we're going to do something from the Russian repertoire, sort of taking a detour. What does Russian have to do with any of this stuff? Well, there is a melody that everybody thinks they know where it came from, but they don't. A melody called Tumbalalaika, right? Everybody knows Tumbalalaika. Right? No problem with that melody, right? We're not going to play like that. It was made famous by a man named Theodor Bickel. He sang it in many, many languages because he actually understood that it comes from many different places. So it is originally a Russian folk song. That was sure. It is originally a Russian folk song. Then somewhere, and maybe, we don't know, but maybe a few hundred years old, I'll leave it up to the musicologists to decide where it came from and how old it is. Most important, though, is that we know it's a Russian folk song. Then the Yiddishists decided to take it on and add their own words, and it all of a sudden became a Yiddish song. But it really was not that. It was originally a Russian folk song. And I actually have seen original publications from the early 1900s that are in Russian, years before it was sung in Yiddish. So we decided to take this song and turn it into a kind of tumbao. And so what is tumbao? Give them a sense of what it is. So kind of not really Russian anymore, is it? Well, Chaim being a very well-versed Latin lead trumpet player in the Miami area, thought that it would be very cute to turn the tumbalalaika into a tumbao lalaika. And so it is called a tumbao lalaika. Here we go.
One, two, three, 1, 2, 3.
So we're going to go do another mambo, and again, playing on words. This was an old klezmer tune that had no association with a specific composer or year, and the Yiddish language is often referred to as Mama Lushan, meaning the mother tongue. And again, playing off of words, Chaim, who's the big jokester in our band in South Florida, said, why don't I turn this piece into a mambo and call it Mambo Lushan? And that's what we did. Here we go.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
So we haven't done anything from Brazil yet, right? You've kept track, right? Okay, so we're going to do a piece that was actually, it's a combination of different pieces that a man named Nicholas Slonimsky, you know, all know who Nicholas Slonimsky is, right? Very, very famous musicologist, ethnomusicologist, and he did studies of musicology and melodies from all over the world because he wanted to know where things came from. And even he was baffled, right, by where melodies came from. And he was studying Jewish music in Brazil, and he came upon this one melody, and he couldn't figure out where it belonged, because part of it he could decipher and analyze, said came from Russia, and part of it came from Brazil, and had Brazilian rhythms, and he called it a love song. In Brazilian, it would be called modinha. So I decided to, I think he actually called it Modinha Russo-Brasileira, which is a love song of Russian and Brazilian music. And so we're going to do that, and as we only have a few tunes left, because I know you have other places to go and other things to see, and you want to get to maybe dinner soon. We don't want to keep you here too long, so we wanted to make sure to get to Brazil, Russia, Brazil music too, okay? So remember, this is kind of a gentle samba. People love. Just want to remind them, this is about love. Right? Love has to go a little slower. Right? Okay? We know what love is, right? Here we go. Also, this sort of features me, so I wanted to play a little something today. So since we like mambo so much, our last song. Let me try that one more time. Our last song. Could be our last song. We'll see how it goes and see how you feel. Is a song that was actually a cantorial exercise that I observed being taught at the Jewish Theological Seminary in New York City by a very famous cantor, Simon Spiro, who is a cantor up in Toronto. And he created this melody, and I'm sitting there listening to him give this melody to about a dozen cantors and asking each of them to put their own interpretation on this melody that he created, to train them and teach them how to interpret something in a very personal way. A pre-existing melody, his melody. Of course, at the end of the class, he did his version, which wiped the floor with everybody. But it was such a beautiful melody, and I was good friends with him, and my father was friends with him, and so I went up to him after class and said, listen, I know you only did this as an exercise, but would you mind if I took the melody and I used it with my own group and performed it? And he said, take it, be my guest, do whatever you want to do with it. And actually we performed it for him when we performed at the Ashkenaz Festival in Toronto, and he loved it. So Chaim took this melody and made it extremely complicated and very difficult to play. Thank you, Chaim. But originally it was a very sweet melody. So what I asked Chaim to do is, let's make sure we reference the sweetness of what this cantor was trying to teach his students. And then do whatever you want to do. And Chaim did that. So you'll hear the original melody, and then you're going to hear how Chaim transformed it into a very, very wonderfully complicated mambo. And he called it Mambo del Chazan. No, wait. Okay, good.
1, 2, 3.
do one more. Yes. Okay, so since we're sort of bringing Miami to Dayton today, right? We're going to play a very famous piece that by a man named Irving Fields, who I got to meet several years ago. He died about 3 years ago, before COVID, at 102. Wow. And Irving Fields was kind of an innovator in the 1940s after World War II. He played piano in the Army, and after the Army, like a lot of people after World War II, soldiers, Jews and non-Jews, a lot of them, after the viciousness of World War II, wanted to go to Miami, where it was warm and beautiful and sunny. And he was a New York guy, and he came down to Miami and was playing at the different South Beach clubs, and nice little piano playing, and jazz and smooth, and having a great time in 1947. And the manager of the club went up to him and said, "Listen, I want my patrons to buy more drinks, but you've got to work them up, and they've got to dance so that they get thirsty." And he's telling me this story, and he said, "Can you beef it up a little bit?" Now, being a Jewish, piano player from, Brooklyn, what did he do? So he took Havana Gila and turned it into a rumba. Everybody loved it. It was the rave, and he put together an album called Bagels and Bongos. Look it up. It's there. It's real. And I met him and his wife. I met him when he was much younger. He was about 98. And his wife was really much younger. She was 80. So, and I love to tell the story when I went to New York and I wanted to meet him and had dinner with him, and he gave me his book, and I spent a couple days with him, which was incredible, the stories he had. And he was still playing in New York City at this Italian restaurant, really until really a few months before he passed away. But I was almost choking on dinner because he and his wife were constantly telling dirty jokes and laughing at each other. And I felt I was getting embarrassed. But they were truly in love, and he was a really nice man. And I told him how much I love this piece and how much it means to the world. It was such a successful piece that I went to visit him at his Central Park South apartment on the 20th floor, which he was able to buy because of this piece called Miami Beach Rumba. So we're going to end up this concert with Miami Beach Rumba. I want to thank everybody, thank Rich, thank our JCC partners, Federation, anything. And actually, we want to thank Rich. I want you to introduce this. Sure. You're the local contractor and friends with everybody, which now I'm friends too. But I want you to introduce them.
I'm the one who has to remember all the names. And so in the back row, we have Jeff Stevens on this whole table of percussion. Lucky, I don't have to name all the instruments. Next thing we have Daryl on the congas. This is more formal, Daryl Rosa, that is. And Jim Brooks on drum set. Chris Berg. Keyboards, we have Kareem Powell. Section, well, you've met me. My name is Rich Beagle. We have, well, we know Chaim too. Okay, more horns. We have Jason Swan on clarinet. Jubano Greenberg on violin. Chaim Rubinoff on trumpet, and Aaron Kula. Thank you so much. We hope to do more like this. He's already talking about next year, and so tell your friends, show those videos. All right, Miami Beach Rumba.
Yeah, we're going to come back with a different program next year. Okay. Let's see. All right, so we're doing this piece. Everybody ready? So how many people know how to rumba? So Dayton's kind of a funny town, isn't it? Okay. All right, here we go. You'll recognize us when we play it, though. Right? Kind of a nice middle tempo. So 1,
2, 1, 2, 3.
Tomorrow night, actually, there will be the children at the...
Oh, yes, at Wright Memorial Library, 6 o'clock. That one is free. And the kids get up and dance during music. And there is a book read by Marshall Weiss, and it's this wonderful children's book by the PJ Library about the accordion. Wouldn't you know? And so every day they get up and dance, and everybody has such a good time. And Wright Memorial Library, tomorrow, 6 o'clock.
Thank you. I need your help. Oh my God, I got to take one shot. First of all,
Yeah, wow.
Judy, you get photography? Come on. Help the picture.
all right. Oh, wait, I know you guys, okay, hang on.
Mama, where are you?
gotta do a shot. We gotta do a couple shots. Okay, guys. We gotta do a shot. Okay, everybody don't trip over anything. We gotta get some good shots. And hold your bottle or something so we know that everybody's playing their instrument. All right. Step sideways so we can get everybody where. Yeah, just we'll push this stuff over here. There we go. Can you see everybody? Gotta see everybody's face. Everybody's face is okay? Say something.
Chris Barrett smile.
All right, got everybody?
Ready? Yeah, you ready? Unless you want to be in the picture. No.
Beautiful. Guys, fabulous. Thank you.
Thanks for coming out.
Amazing. Put this together.
Yeah, it's good. Hey. Oh, thanks so much for coming out.
Really great. Great.
Yes, it did.
I have to get everybody. I want to get everybody.
We have
Rich has everybody.
A girl threw a rocket and space and it broke it and it went This adult took them, you don't even know where the other half is.
we can
I don't know, because Jonah made this joke. Jonah made this joke. He was taking, but he only made the joke because his back was clogged. So Jonah was having glucose tabs, right? For diabetes. Like, and she was like, can you eat it? But she didn't eat it, but then he was like, oh, and he was like, oh, diabetes medicine, I don't know what's gonna happen to you. You might die.
No.
You might die. Close you. And Joe was like, oh no. Oh gosh, I put upstairs by Joe. And then she was like, and then she was like, and his tooth broken half, filled with infection, and blood everywhere, and they don't know where the other half is. And the family has to pay for part of Jonas' dental stuff because he might need tooth surgery. Yeah, they should. Hang on. How much is it?
Yeah, do my own. Yes. Oh yeah, I love him. He's my older brother. He's great. Brilliant. Very I have 5 brothers. He's the oldest. We are always very proud.
That's probably the easy one. Getting organized is the hard part. We're kind of raising the small moms.
No, I'm the only one. Rabbi, cancer, advertising lawyers, but I'm the only one. Thank you. I leave it up to the community. I'll leave it up to the JCC. Yeah. You know, it's not as money. Not as money, but we can do whatever we're. People say, I always get people like, you come to Toronto, you come to Chicago. I said, yeah, only if you get invited. We go anywhere, just gotta get invited. Although I'm gonna be in Boston for the next year because I need a break from Miami. I'm doing my concert because I have family in Boston. I can go over there. We got here 2 days ago and we put this together so I can go anywhere. Send my music and get prepared.
Let's go get pasta.
Oh, this is okay. Good. Oh, then you can appreciate all my Chazanut references. I didn't use the word nusach going on. I better not use too much Hebrew. I might get people freaked out, But you got my take on it, right? Did I pass? Was I fair? I don't know, Schmitzy, was I a little I know I was stretching some of the
Yes, he was my teacher. He was my teacher. I was
was 16 years old.
And, and you know what? He had skin as smooth as yours. I'm sorry, I had to say that. It was, I mean, really, it could have been your twin. I'll come and lecture at the Catholic. I want to. Didn't I make sense with it?
Yes.
Right? I would. I think you know. You have to kick my consolidated information. So we digest that, right? Yeah.
No.
That's Brett. And when he did, he was really great. He walked into this. That's Brett. That was Brett. This is not easy stuff to walk in. All right. Listen, if I check any of my facts, I'm calling you. All right. Aria. Why am I not surprised?
Okay.
So wait, so Aria?
You mess it up.
Good practice. Well, I can provide the ideas, I can't provide the money. You got it. You got my email. I know I can.
You found it.
This one's gonna be all right. That's, I mean, it's probably the attitude you had. It's gonna be fun.
I'm gonna someone else said I couldn't come to this whole person.
It might make you we're not as young as very much in the
So if you guys, I mean, that was,
catering.
Oh, yeah.
for those who are staying a little bit more. Chris, thank you.
Oh, yes, yes.
If I see it, I'll reject it.
Or you would like to be paid? Okay. Well, after 24 years commuting and doing everything, I was basically based in public. But no, we're beyond. 37 in July. Yes, yes, she owns a bookstore. She's doing great. She loves it. So she lives up there. She's turning 37. Mario, talk to my daughter, Mario.
He said Vance. So if we do the reunion.
Where am I? Where am I? Let's and after 22 years. And then I was for you. But as all great things she's at the internet because president, provost, me. I was pretty high up in the internet all over the by 2016. That's good. She's all the way up left. And now we're having this is what I'll say. It doesn't matter how successful everything is. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We don't like anything that was done before us. We don't. Right? Oh yeah, right. And they just take it just like a desk. You just put that on. So like everything. The desk. No, it doesn't matter who you. They don't care about people. It's just who they are. They're making 300, 400, 500. They don't care. And so that was when it was time begin the exit, and then 2009, my official exit in the summer by 10 years.
They're going out tomorrow.
Summer of 2019, August, September, October, November, December, January 2020. And now 6 months after I'm doing it really well, and February 2020. What happened in February 2020?
I don't know if it's more or less. What?
He's calling the grandma and meeting.
It went away for good.
Somebody else.
Everything in the future, things lead to it, so there was nothing to lead to the next year, so basically it became very difficult. I have looking at it, it's very difficult. So now things are coming back, but I decided life has changed. Because I can do all of my work tomorrow.
Are you going to use that?
Yes, you can use that with the belts.
You got the belt, just keep it?
So I'm right. So I'm somebody
Any grandma's want Indian food?
And I've got the business. So yeah, when you're
How about this smile and stuff? It's a different
business. So got it all figured out. My son is doing great.
Yeah, I gotta go.
I'm thankful.
I got stuff to do.
Hey, Rick?
So no, it's okay. So he
Another set of straps on it. I can do that and bring it back.
He said, well, I'll renovate it.
Yeah.
Why don't you just pay, since when you die, your money can come to me anyway. Well, it's kind of honest, it's truth, but I'm thinking, going, yeah, I guess so, you're right. Why don't I just pay you the $2,500, $2,000 a month? So, I'll be back in my base.
That would work?
I could go anywhere.
Like 4 hours.
Yeah, Cleveland, yeah, I'll make it, right?
Yeah, keep
I
it
just want to say it's really nice to meet you. I'm not going to be at the thing tomorrow night, so yeah, I hope to get to hear you again.
This and on the 28th.
Well, yeah, it would be nice to go to Miami.
I was like, you knew me when I was 40, when I was in my early 40s, my late 30s. I mean,
in the summer.
I
Impressively hot.
Yeah.
Which I don't mind.
If you're
I was
43.
in New York, half our
Yeah, but but you were working there a few years before that.
Okay, it's good. Darren,
Just 2 years. All right, then you went to lunch. Right.
Oh geez, that's gonna be long.
Right. Oh, that's right.
So he's the guy. Eric's just over busy, and he said, Jim said yes to everything on our calendars.
Oh, yeah, we should.
I just have to go.
Sweet. Oh, sure. Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to be able to
Like nothing is
I'm sure. Thank you so much.
Was that?
Okay. All right, thank you, guys.
You had hair like that once.
I know, everyone, you know, I got some recordings, and they did, somebody was.
You're gonna be where?
Yeah, somebody.
Detail, I mean, I'm sure he can share with you what he showed me.
But, yeah, there is an outdoor theater, she works, of course, in the summertime. They